President Obama proposed a new tax on millionaires, dubbed the Buffett Rule. This tax is designed to correct the perception that millionaires pay taxes at lower rates than non-millionaires. To implement the Buffett Rule, the Senate Democrats recently proposed a new 5.6 tax on people earning more than $1 million a year. They claim this new tax will raise $450 billion over 10 years. Evaluating the president's proposal in this new tax is problematic for several reasons. First, to put the proposed 5.6 surtax on millionaires in perspective, on an annual basis, this proposed additional tax only covers 3% of this year's projected deficit. That's even before any new government spending. However, this new millionaires tax does nothing to solve the federal government's unsustainable spending binge. Second, Mr. Obama's tax relies on a false premise. Stating that millionaires are taxed at lower rates than middle-income families plays well with Obama's constituents who favor redistributing wealth. However, the data refutes the president's assertion. The top 1% of households with the most income pay nearly 30% of their income in federal taxes, while middle-class families pay only 14% of their income in federal taxes. Millionaires, who comprise less than 1% of all taxpayers, already pay 20% of all federal income taxes. So the very high income earners already are taxed at over twice the rate as middle-class wage earners. Third, all individuals are taxed at 15% on income from dividends and capital gains. A few very, very wealthy individuals like Mr. Buffett receive most of their income from capital gains and dividends. Hence, their average tax rate is low. But very, very few high-income earners receive the bulk of their income from dividends and capital gains. Fourth, President Obama's millionaire tax is old wine in new bottles. The federal government added the alternative minimum tax to the tax code in 1969. The reason this was put in 1969 was to tax so-called millionaires. It was called the millionaires tax, to prevent the very rich from using so-called tax loopholes to reduce their tax burden. Roughly every 2 years since 1969, Congress has revised the alternative minimum tax, presumably to try and close these loopholes. Why do we expect Mr. Obama's new millionaires tax to work now when 42 years of trying to fix the old alternative minimum tax have failed? Fifth and finally, Mr. Obama's proposed millionaires tax fails to address the budget deficit. Roughly 1,500 millionaires paid no taxes in a recent survey by the federal government. If the government confiscated all of this income, and assuming the average income of these people is about $5 million, this 100% tax only pays the federal deficit for 3 days. Where does Mr. Obama expect to get the money to pay the deficit for the remaining 362 days? The president's proposal makes a great soundbite, the Buffett Rule. Unfortunately, it distracts the nation's attention to address our most pressing economic problems: how to grow the economy, and how do we prevent the inevitable collapse of the U.S. economy that will occur if the massive deficit spending by the federal government continues unabated.